He is the promise of an era, a name that redefined what it means to be a star in Major League Baseball. When Shohei Ohtani signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers for $700 million on a 10-year contract, it wasn't just a sports transaction. It was a statement, a bet on the uniqueness of a talent that only appears once every century. But now, months after the start of the season, an absence begins to speak louder than any home run. Ohtani still hasn't taken a mound, and some are saying that perhaps he never will again. What is happening behind the scenes at Dodger Stadium? Why is the team that invested the most in its image still not put him back as a pitcher? And more troubling still, have the Dodgers already made a quiet decision to end Shohei Ohtani's era as a pitcher? To understand the weight of this moment, we need to look back in time. When Otani arrived in the MLB from Japan, he was met with skepticism from some. Two-way players no longer worked, analysts said. The physical and tactical challenges of pitching and hitting at a high level were almost unsustainable. But Shohei proved them wrong. In 2021, he won the American League MVP. In 2022, he had his best season as a pitcher, with a 2.33 ERA and 219 strikeouts in 166 innings. All of this while sending 34 balls out of the park with the bat. It was official, the legend was alive, and then came the injury. In 2023, another torn ligament in his elbow, the second surgery in less than 5 years. Ohtani remained active as a hitter, but the question lingered. Would he ever pitch again? It was in this atmosphere of uncertainty that the Dodgers went all in. They signed the biggest star in modern baseball to a historic contract, but with a crucial clause. Ohtani would only receive part of the value over the decade, easing the immediate impact on the payroll. A bold model that shows how the franchise sees Ohtani not only as an athlete, but as a long-term investment. But then, why is there still not even a realistic timeline for his return as a pitcher? Bob Nightingale, veteran columnist for USA Today, provided what could be the answer. In an interview with Dodgers Nation, he said, "I think he'll be in rotation again in 2026. Then we'll see what happens. I think his love is just as a hitter." He goes further, "It will be fascinating in a few years if he stops pitching. What do you do? Do you put him in the outfield? He's a great athlete. It would be a waste to keep him as a full-time designated hitter." If you follow these behind-the-scenes stories with the same fascination we do, leave a like now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Here, we don't wait for rumors to become headlines. We deliver what the insiders are whispering before it even becomes news. In the front office of the Dodgers, this is a decision with multiple layers. On one side, there's medical caution. Ohtani is recovering from surgery, and rushing his return to mound would be reckless. But on the other side, there's a strategic reading. The franchise needs to manage its most valuable asset with the utmost intelligence, because Ohtani, even without pitching, is one of the best hitters in the league. In 2024, he led MLB in slugging, was second only to Aaron Judge in OPS, and continues to be one of the Dodgers' top run producers. The question is it worth putting him at risk when his offensive value is already enough to make him indispensable? And this is where the behind-the-scenes chatter gets even more interesting. Sources connected to the franchise indicate that the internal planning is already working with the possibility of Ohtani becoming exclusively a hitter. This changes everything, because if he doesn't return as a pitcher, the Dodgers will need to fill that hole in the rotation. Yamamoto has been solid. Buehler is back strong, but depth is still lacking. And in October, that depth could be the difference between a title and an early elimination. The conversation behind closed doors already includes names of potential targets at the trade deadline. Corbin Burns, if he doesn't renew with the Orioles. Shane Bieber, if the Guardians decide to capitalize. Even options like Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins are beginning to surface in whispers among executives. The success of this window could directly depend on the future or absence of Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And if the plan is indeed to never use him as a pitcher again, what will be the next step? Nightingale raised a bold possibility. Ohtani in the outfield. It might sound strange at first, but it makes sense. He has speed, reflexes, and game awareness. In Japan, before becoming a designated hitter in the MLB, he occasionally played as a defender. It would be a way to capitalize on his athleticism, while also opening up the DH slot for another impactful hitter, further deepening the Dodgers' offensive lineup. The decision hasn't been made official yet, but the prolonged absence, the controlled silence, and statements from experienced insiders like Nightingale suggest that something bigger is being orchestrated. Perhaps the Dodgers already know that the two-way Ohtani is a thing of the past, and perhaps the Ohtani of the future will be even more lethal by focusing on just one role. But that also raises another question. If he never pitches again, does the $700 million contract still make sense? The Dodgers didn't just bet on a player. They bet on a symbol. Someone who attracts sponsors, global audiences, and a fan base in Japan that translates into millions of dollars. Shohei Ohtani is more than statistics. He is a strategic asset. But how long will the bat alone sustain that bet? Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Dodgers are just being cautious, or have they already decided to end Shohei Ohtani's pitching career? Leave your comment below. Your perspective could be highlighted in the next video. But while the Dodgers are still grappling with Ohtani's dilemma and the shadow of his absence on the mound, a new urgency begins to grow behind the scenes at the club. And it doesn't come from the bullpen. It comes from the bat. Because if the plan is to maximize Ohtani as a hitter and protect his long-term health, then there's no room for offensive failures in other parts of the lineup. And that's where Bo Bichette's name enters the radar. Yes, you heard that right. According to Zach Presnell from FanSided, the Dodgers are considering a bold move in the market, a trade with the Blue Jays to bring the all-star shortstop to Los Angeles. At first glance, it seems like just another mid-season rumor. But the closer you look, the more it makes sense. Max Muncy, who has been playing third base, is batting below .200. His offensive production has dropped, and his defensive impact had already been questioned. The Dodgers know that if they want to compete head-to-head with the Braves, Phillies, or Brewers in playoffs, they need to fix this urgently. Bo Bichette, on the other hand, brings exactly what's missing: contact, consistency, controlled aggression at the plate, and clubhouse presence. With a batting average of .293, he remains a constant threat at the top of the order, and he's led the American League in hits twice. He's young, explosive, and the kind of player who can change the offensive dynamic in an October series. But here's the most strategic point. His arrival wouldn't just be a direct replacement. It would be a complete infield reorganization. Bichette would take over at shortstop, moving Mookie Betts back to second base, a position where he's shown defensive quality and tactical versatility. And that would free up Tommy Edman to cover third base, a player with 59 games at the position and a refined game sense. This internal chess would also solve another issue: what to do with Hye-Sung Kim. The Korean sensation has been tearing it up in AAA, and his promotion to the main roster is just a matter of time. With the reconfiguration of the infield, the Dodgers could slot him into the outfield, creating space for his energy and aggressive contact at the bottom of the order. Suddenly, the lineup looks much deeper and much more dangerous. Of course, bringing in Bo Bichette won't come cheap. He signed a 3-year $33 million contract, but he'll be a free agent at the end of the season. And with the Blue Jays facing financial limitations, it might be the perfect time to explore a trade. Los Angeles has prospects, assets, and, more importantly, urgency. Urgency for titles. Urgency for answers. And the technical fit isn't the only draw. Bichette has always expressed a desire to stay alongside Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in Toronto, but it's already clear that the Canadian team might not have the financial structure to keep both. This opens the door for a strategic and quiet exit, one that would fit perfectly with the Dodgers' style. A team that acts fast and often anticipates the market. So now the picture is complete. On one side, we have a Shohei Ohtani who may never pitch again, being protected as an offensive treasure. On the other, we have an infield production below average, putting pressure on the entire system. And in the middle of this scenario, emerges the figure of Bo Bichette as a bold, aggressive, and technically perfect answer to keep the Dodgers at the top. The question remains, how far is Andrew Friedman willing to go? And what's the cost of becoming unstoppable? Leave your comment below. Would you trade valuable prospects for Bo Bichette knowing he might leave next offseason? Or do you think the Dodgers should wait for bigger names in free agency? And more, should Otani definitively give up the mound? Subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, and leave that like if you want to see the Dodgers back in the World Series. And get ready, because in the next video, we'll reveal 3 unexpected names that could appear on the Yankees' radar in the next window, including a former MVP no one expected to see back in the American League. See you there, because in baseball, the behind the scenes never sleeps.